You probably woke up today, brushed your teeth, dressed in clothes that carefully signal your profession, and smiled pleasantly at someone you secretly couldn't stand.
Right, just the standard morning routine.
Exactly. You do this every single day, and you think you're choosing to be polite. You
Yeah.
think, well, I'm just being a functioning, well-adjusted adult in a modern world. But what if that inner censor isn't just good manners?
What if it's the root of a very quiet despair?
Yes. Welcome to today's deep dive. You, our listener, have sent us this massive, just fascinating stack of psychoanalytic reflections and really deep philosophical arguments about the human condition.
And our mission today isn't to just, review these from some safe academic distance.
No, we are stepping right into the arena with these ideas. We're looking at arguably the most unsettling question you can ask yourself.
Which is, what if the deepest illusion of modern life is not that we're controlled by outside forces,
Right.
but that we enthusiastically volunteer for our own captivity?
It's a heavy question. And to really grapple with it, we kind of need to shift our mental atmosphere entirely.
I agree. You have to imagine we're sitting in this dimly lit Vienna coffee house.
We're way past midnight.
Exactly, stripping away all the pleasantries and delusions we use to get through the day. Because to look this in the eye, you have to discard the idea that society is this benevolent protector looking out for you.
Because it's not.
It's not. Society is a necessary tyrant. And the foundation of our civilization is essentially built on a brutal bargain.
A brutal bargain. Let's unpack that. Because, on the surface, civilization feels like a pretty spectacular deal.
Sure, we get paved roads, modern medicine.
Grocery stores overflowing with food. So if that's the payout, what exactly is the currency we're using to trade for it?
We're surrendering our rawest, most primal drives.
Like, aggression.
Aggression, uninhibited lust. That raw animal will to just dominate our environment and take whatever we want.
Wow.
We hand all of that over in exchange for safety, order, and belonging to the tribe. But the catch, and this is insidious, is that it's not a one-time contract.
Like something you sign at birth and forget about?
Right. This is a silent, agonizing negotiation happening second by second inside your own mind. It's this constant grinding friction between your raw impulse and the internalized rules of the world.
So the currency isn't taxes.
No, it's pieces of your own self.
Let me make sure I'm really grounding this in reality. So, if I'm sitting in a truly terrible meeting, right?
Yeah.
And I bite my tongue instead of telling an executive their idea is objectively ridiculous,
Which we've all done.
or I force a laugh at a bad joke to avoid awkwardness, am I not just smoothing things over? Like, am I engaging in internal colonization?
Internal colonization captures it perfectly. Because the voice telling you to bite your tongue isn't an impartial referee.
What is it then?
It's the internalized voice of your parents, your teachers, the laws, and, honestly, algorithms and cultural influencers. It takes up residence in your mind.
And it dictates the rules.
It doesn't just whisper rules, though. It actively rewrites your desires.
Wait, really? It rewrites them.
Over time, so thoroughly that you lose track of which impulses are genuinely yours and which were surgically implanted by the culture. Eventually, obedience stops feeling like submission.
It just becomes who you are.
It becomes indistinguishable from your identity.
That is deeply terrifying. It implies that power doesn't even need physical force anymore.
Exactly. We don't need a physical prison if we've built the prison inside our own heads. Society has outgrown the need for secret police.
Right. It's like the concept of the panopticon.
Yes, the Jeremy Bentham design.
A circular prison with a guard tower in the center, but the windows are opaque, so the prisoners never actually know if they're being watched.
So the mechanism of control isn't the guard?
It's the uncertainty. Because you might be watched, you have to act like you're always being watched. You internalize the guard.
You become your own jailer. And today, the panopticon isn't a building. It's your phone screen. It's the therapist's waiting room. Your morning mirror. The ultimate threat keeping you in line isn't state violence.
It's exclusion.
Yes. For a social animal like us, exclusion is a slow death of the soul. So we wear the uniform, literal or psychological, because we're desperate to be seen as sane and lovable by the group.
But hold on. If we've swallowed the guard and we're constantly holding down all this chaotic energy, physics says pressure has to go somewhere.
It does.
The anger I swallowed in that meeting, it can't just evaporate. How does the system handle all that compressed energy?
It redirects it. This is civilization's greatest magic trick, the mechanism of sublimation.
Sublimation. Okay, break that down for me.
Well, because you can't act on raw lust, You pour that energy into painting a beautiful nude masterpiece. Because you can't physically strike your rival, you study the law and destroy them in a debate.
Oh, I see.
You can't devour the world, so you channel that dominance into building a massive corporate empire. Civilization takes our primal drives and forces them into highly productive, socially acceptable forms.
Wait, this changes how I view basically every high achiever. So, like, the office worker who is obsessively channeling their vague rage into productivity hacks.
Right.
Or the activist converting deep personal shame into this massive, righteous, moral crusade. Are you saying those aren't spiritual triumphs?
They're highly managed psychological compromise,
Because compromises.
supervised by that inner tribunal. And the tragic part is, sublimation isn't true liberation. It's displacement.
Yeah.
Every time you displace a raw desire, it leaves a hollow scar in your psyche.
A ghost town.
Exactly. Where something authentic used to live.
That dramatically reframes virtue. It makes me wonder if modern virtues are actually just psychological traps to keep the machine running.
Like what?
Like when people say, just be kind or protect your peace or don't rock the boat. Is that actually psychic pacification? Are we weaponizing morality to make ourselves shrink?
Morality is absolutely weaponized to enforce that shrinking. Look at how modern culture labels emotions. Expressing genuine disruptive anger is pathologized now as toxic.
Oh yeah, toxic is everywhere.
Questioning the consensus is labeled divisive or harmful. Wanting too much truth is selfish. So you edit yourself. You sand down your edges until you're just a well-behaved ghost.
And all that unexpressed aggression turns inward.
Into crippling anxiety, depression, and relentless self-punishment.
Which brings up a concept that totally fascinated me. Anticipatory guilt. Let me see if I have the mechanics of this right.
Go for it.
It's like when I walk into a convenience store, realize they don't have what I want, and as I walk out past the cashier, I suddenly feel overwhelmingly guilty.
Yes.
I haven't stolen anything, I haven't broken a rule, but my brain starts inventing a crime, and I want to empty my pockets just to prove my innocence. The guilt arrives before any offense is even committed.
That is a flawless, real-world example. You feel the crushing weight of judgment long before the act occurs. Sometimes when it was never going to occur.
Because my inner sensor is so hyperactive.
It creates a preemptive strike against your own desires.
Yeah.
And in our hyper-connected society, this guilt is ambient. It's a low buzz beneath every interaction.
Like, am I doing enough? Am I normal enough?
Did you phrase that email politely? Do you hold the correct political opinions? It ensures absolute compliance before disobedience can even manifest.
Okay, if we're dissecting primal drives, we have to wade into the deepest waters here. The life force and sexuality, and the drive toward destruction and death.
Eros and Thanatos.
Right. But I have to push back on you regarding Eros. Surely we are more sexually and socially liberated now than at any point in history.
Are we?
Well, look at dating apps. Endless choices. Our culture celebrates body positivity and breaking taboos. How can you argue our sexuality is still colonized today?
Because what you're describing is a brilliant, highly profitable illusion of liberation. Society inherently fears uncontrolled bodies and desires because they threaten established hierarchies. If bodies are truly sovereign, institutions tremble. So society sanctifies specific, culturally legible containers for desire and pathologizes the rest.
Okay, but we have an entire generation fluent in graphic imagery.
But entirely mute when it comes to authentic emotional intimacy.
I hear that, but I'm not letting you off the hook. People act on these desires. Polyamory is mainstream. Hookup culture is everywhere. That has to be unsublimated freedom.
But look at how they're acting it out. Even hookup culture operates within highly rigid, curated scripts. We swipe based on algorithms. We negotiate boundaries like corporate contracts.
Ah, I see what you mean.
We're engaging through a protective layer of cultural legibility. We consume fantasy because unscripted reality is too policed. True intimacy requires the ultimate risk.
Being seen in your unedited, messy vulnerability.
Exactly. And that risk feels unbearable when your social worth is tied to being validated and perfectly curated. We choose the safety of the known script over the terrifying unknown of the self.
Wow. It's the difference between scripted vulnerability and actual exposure.
Precisely.
So if that's how we manage the life force, what about Thanatos, the death drive? The pull toward aggression and destruction, how is this managed in our modern panopticon?
Civilization can't abolish aggression. The energy is permanent, so it builds sanctioned arenas for it to play out safely.
Historically, like war, or gladiators.
Right, or hyper-competitive sports, today it is increasingly channeled into politics and online discourse.
Designated zones where we have permission to hate.
To destroy rivals without entirely collapsing the social contract. But when denied those outlets, the fury turns inward into self-harm or outward into collective social purging.
Which explains cancel culture perfectly. It's not really about justice, is it? It's a socially sanctioned arena for Thanatos.
Look historically at totalitarian regimes. Nazi Germany, the Stasi in East Germany. Conformity wasn't just enforced by the threat of being dragged away.
It wasn't.
It was deeply seductive.
Yeah.
It offered belonging. Denouncing your neighbor felt like a righteous act of love and loyalty. It cured existential uncertainty. You knew exactly where you stood in the tribe.
So the mechanism of totalitarian seduction is exactly the same today, just with different stakes.
The underlying function is identical. Today we perform relentless ideological purity tests on social media. We publicly signal virtue to the in-group.
The vocabulary changes. Yesterday it was, a lady doesn't do that. Today that's deeply problematic.
But the function is exactly the same.
Yeah.
We manage our death drive and act out of a primal need not to be cast into the wilderness.
If you're listening right now and feeling a pit in your stomach because you just spent 20 minutes agonizing over a post so it wouldn't be deemed problematic, that's the mechanism. You're performing for the internalized guard.
You are?
But this brings up a huge paradox. If conformity is a trap and society is a tyrant, the natural human response is to rebel, to reject the culture and find out who we really are.
The quest for the true self.
Yes, but you're shaking your head.
Because here is the deepest, most unsettling trap of all. The self you are desperately trying to find was never there to begin with.
Stop. Let's sit with that, because that is a massive and honestly pretty bleak idea. Are you telling me that when the punk rock kid shaves his head,
Yes.
or the wellness influencer preaches radical self-love, or the intellectual writes a scathing critique of power, none of that is actual rebellion?
They're still reading from a script. They are entirely legible to the culture they think they're fighting. Their rebellion is scripted by the very system they're trying to escape.
But what about the pure, authentic you buried underneath?
It's a romantic myth. That authentic you is a cultural artifact. The concept of the individual self was actually produced by the conflict and repression we've been discussing. The friction created the self.
So how does the system neutralize the desire to be real?
It commodifies it. The system observes the aesthetic of your rebellion, strips it of real danger, and sells it back to you. The algorithm notices you feel alienated.
And it feeds me content of other alienated people.
You buy the clothes, adopt the vocabulary, post the photos. Your existential cry for freedom is now a consumer demographic.
The system monetizes the punk aesthetic. It turns radical self-love into a $200 skincare routine.
Exactly. The more desperately you try to express your true self, the more you participate in the marketplace, reinforcing the illusion that the self exists independently of the social world.
So if the true self is a commodity and rebellion is a consumer choice, what is freedom? Does it even exist?
Freedom isn't about recovering a lost pure essence. It's not a treasure hunt. Freedom is about consciously navigating the agonizing tension.
The tension between what?
Between arrows and the law. Between your destructive death drive and your desperate need to belong. The self isn't a noun you discover. It is a verb. It is the friction itself.
But what happens if we lose the friction? Because that feels like the grim reality today. What is the actual cost of living in this highly curated system?
The quiet horror of our modern condition is seamless conformity. You don't even notice the loss anymore. When you were younger, you felt the sting of biting your tongue.
You felt the ache of pretending.
Yes. But now, the conformity is so frictionless you scroll past global outrage without blinking. You nod along to ideas you once deeply questioned.
Resistance doesn't just feel hard, it feels like a foreign language.
Your inner landscape has been so colonized that you don't miss yourself because you've forgotten what it felt like to be missing. The censor doesn't shout threats anymore. It whispers through your desires. You want to play by the rules because you think they protect you from chaos. But the chaos is within you. It's your life force.
And by exiling the chaos, you exile the engine that makes you feel alive. Think about the dreams you no longer remember, the wild fantasies you rationally dismiss as childish.
Or surges of passion you call unproductive.
Right? What if those aren't useless impulses? What if those are desperate SOS messages from the part of you that still remembers how to resist? Have we paved over the royal road to our unconscious with endless scrolling and curated feeds?
We have completely paved it over. And the true devastating price of belonging isn't basic obedience. It's the slow erosion of your capacity to feel the cost of your obedience. The system demands you defend your conformity as maturity and wisdom.
So if there's no grand rebellion and no uncorrupted self, how do we live with this? What's the actionable takeaway for the listener right now?
The only genuine freedom left is to reclaim the right to witness your own disappearance.
How do you do that?
Stand at the very edge of your conformity in quiet moments and ask, is this desire really mine? Or is this just what they taught me to want? You have to tolerate the immense discomfort of not knowing who you are without rushing to fill the void with a prepackaged identity.
I want to leave you, the listener, with a brand new, frankly terrifying thought that builds on everything we've uncovered today. Earlier, we talked about sublimation, how our repressed desires are the raw fuel civilization uses to build its grandest achievements.
Masterpieces painted out of forbidden longing, Rome built from managed aggression.
Right. So look around at the world today. What is the grand, terrifying monument that our hyper-connected modern society is currently building? What is the ambient guilt of billions of people being sublimated into?
That's a profound question.
Consider this. Maybe the digital panopticon of the modern internet, this massive machine of surveillance, algorithmic judgment, and infinite scrolling, isn't just a product forced upon us by tech companies.
You're saying it's our creation.
Maybe it's humanity's ultimate unconscious masterpiece, a sprawling cathedral built entirely from the limitless energy of our own erased wilderness. We didn't just build our own cage, we made it infinitely scrollable, and we willingly carry it in our pockets.
It implies we took all of our displaced, chaotic energy and poured it into a machine that tirelessly enforces the rules we're too exhausted to enforce ourselves.
It's an immense amount to mull over. Thank you for bringing us these reflections and for joining us on this deep dive into the invisible architecture of your mind.
It's been a pleasure.
As you go about the rest of your perfectly polite, perfectly curated day, I want to leave you with one final question. Let it linger. When was the last time you let yourself want something wrong?